Marketing is a podcast for business owners and leaders, produced by my dad, Steve Davis, and his colleague at Talked About Marketing, David Olney, in which they explore marketing through the lens of their own 4 Ps: person, principles, problems, and perspicacity. Yes, you heard that correctly. Apart from their love of words, they really love helping people. So they hope this podcast will become a trusted companion on your journey in business.
Figuratively speaking, David, have you looked at yourself in an AI mirror and do you like what you see?
That's one of those interesting questions to go, this AI is trying to flatter me and be like me, and am I really like that? So yeah, I have thought about it, and I keep reaching the conclusion I'm fine and it's the AI that's got the problem.
Our 4 Ps. Number 1, person. The aim of life is self-development, to realise one's nature perfectly. That is what each of us is here for. Oscar Wilde.
In the person segment, I want to just share something in case you, like me, are finding the steady drumbeat of news in this recent bit of history completely debilitating and tragic and sad and depressing. That's what I mean, am I alone, David? Do you get the same tone from what's covered in the news?
I've got the advantage of having taught international relations and international security for so long that I've long since got to the point where I can just go, that is sad, acknowledge the feeling, and then step away from it. Because walking into tutorials every day, having to teach the same grim thing 8 times in a week would just be crushing if you kept feeling the enormity of the mess we're making. So yes, it's definitely a thing, it's definitely palpable, but I've long since worked out that I need to detach from it for my own well-being.
Well, for those of us without that background, one thing I'd like to suggest, I'm trying it myself actually, is I've just come back from being in remote South Australia, like South Australian outback, up as far as Lake Eyre, that sort of region, back around through Cooper Pedy. Admittedly, I was doing it dressed as a monkey.
How else would you do it?
As part of the South Australian Variety Bash. What was interesting is we were often in places without any signal, and I deliberately was not really using my device much. I was taking some photos and sharing a little bit through our Cars page, but talking about 5% of the user exposure I have to the digital stream. And when I got back, there was a real culture shock. And I looked at LinkedIn and I regret it because although, as many people who follow me on LinkedIn know, I don't have much tolerance for the sort of pat yourself on the back crap that gets shared over there, but it looked incredibly infantile, more and plastic and just petty. I was revulsed by it, David. Just having been in nature, communicating with humans face to face the whole time, 400 of us on this journey in the to places where it was just us often, and to come back and have this mediated version of plastic individuals spouting self-congratulatory stuff written by ChatGPT really made me feel even more profoundly sad upon my return. And I thought, what the heck can I do? And I remembered reading Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, which he wrote recounting his time in Nazi concentration camp. And what he ends up deducing from this work, or suggesting, is that the ones who were able to survive when they had no control over their plight, over their experience, is they could fix their mind on the future, on catching up again with their beloved, or doing something that is rooted in community as a way to give something to hold on to drive forward, to keep on keeping on, if you like. And I'm just going to listen to him recounting this in one of his lectures now.
In actual fact, when I entered Auschwitz, I had a full book-length manuscript in my pocket. It was the manuscript of that book that later in your country has been published under the title The Doctor and the Soul. So in any event, logotherapy was already developed when I came to Auschwitz, but certainly the 4 concentration camps in which I had to spend 3 years were in a way a testing ground, an acid test to confirm, to validate practically, empirically in the widest sense of the word, my theories that I had developed previously. And the core, the nucleus of this theory, or if you wish me to put it that way, the lesson I had to learn in Auschwitz was that those prisoners, those inmates, were most likely to survive, those who had a meaning orientation toward the future, toward a work to complete in the future, toward a person waiting for them at home. Those people who had a strong meaning orientation were most likely to survive, and I believe that something parallel even holds for mankind as a whole. If there's any hope for mankind as a whole to survive, this survival also will be dependent on meaning orientation. Mankind will finally have a chance to survive only if mankind arrives at the awareness of common meanings and values.
It just struck me that I think this message has another time in which it's relevant right now in the current state of things, especially if you are feeling as I have. In fact, one thing that was interesting, David, in a different piece, I saw him talking about how he was, this is later in his life, he had to stop having his flying lessons, and he remembered his flying instructor teaching him one thing, that if you're flying from A to B and there's a strong crosswind, you can't just aim at B because you'll end up being thrown off course, let's say, down off to the right. You have to aim further up to the left, and you sort of crab your way across in that wind, and then through that you end up where you were going to be. And he uses that as a great analogy of this is why it's worth having noble ideals. It's worth having something to aim for. We may not get there, but it keeps us at a good place, or perhaps even a higher place, whereas if we just try and stay as we are, inevitably we start descending down to our more base selves. David?
Again, I always used to enjoy teaching bits and pieces about Viktor Frankl, and really the key takeaway from Man's Search for Meaning is there's 3 ways to find meaning. There's meaning in love, there's meaning in work, and there's meaning in how you face suffering. But the key thing, he learnt in concentration camps is, as a doctor, he could look at people and go, that person is really sick and should die. That person is a little bit healthier. Well, why is it that the person who was sick is the one who survived and the healthier one has died? And it was consistently the same thing. One of those 2 people knew why they wanted to be alive tomorrow. There was meaning in their life greater than them, greater than suffering, that gave them the courage to keep moving forward. And in Frankl's own case, he was out on a march one day, on a freezing day. He was very sick. Friends were holding him up on either side, and he just thought, if I just go and lay face down in the snow, one of the guards will kill me and the suffering will end. And then it dawned on him in feeling terrible, but what if my wife survives the war? And he just got on with marching. So there's immense power in Viktor Frankl, and anyone who hasn't read Man's Search for Meaning should read it and really do a check of what do you value and what meaning do you want to contribute to, and what thing is worth suffering for and worth looking forward to and will make the world a better place, and you can be proud of contributing to something.
And it's that last bit, because certainly nothing I've endured is anywhere near what he was enduring, but I was out of my comfort zone on this bash in the middle of nowhere. I'm not a great camper, or hardly ever camped, and yet there was something that the echoes of Viktor Frankl brought to my mind. We weren't just doing this as riding around in jalopies in the bush. We were doing it as the final celebration of a year of fundraising for Variety SA, which uses its funds to help disadvantaged families around South Australia and communities. And it wasn't conscious, but as we stopped town by town and made announcements of things we were doing, it did lift your spirits. So that experience, coupled with reminding myself of Viktor Frankl, has given me more buoyancy after the first few days when I was in quite a funk upon returning. So, as David said, if you haven't read it, it's only a short book, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl, probably a nice way to look after the person.
Our 4 Ps. Number 2, principles. You can never be overdressed or overeducated. Oscar Wilde.
David, our last episode was a juggernaut of an episode looking at AI and use of AI tools and the hype around AI and perhaps the excesses where it just accentuates our laziness. And we did say we'd come back and look more practically at how we can get some goodness out of these AI tools. And the reason I referenced looking at yourself in the AI mirror earlier is that one of the things that helps create better output from these tools that more closely mirrors the way you talk, so that the tool can help amplify the human and not just lazily turn out its plastic gunk, is by getting it to generate a language and style guide in which we get it to hold up a mirror to the way that you speak and think about your business, so that it can learn how to be more like you. And finding a series of questions, because if you just take the stuff you've written on your website, often we find that content written on websites, there's something that happens psychologically when people sit down to write stuff for their own business. A switch gets flicked, and the grade 3 English teacher comes to the fore and tries to get you to write more formally with beginning, middle, and end. And we think, oh, we've got to make this sound more businessy. And it's often not a very eloquent or human voice. And David, you and I have met many people where the businesses, if you just went by the website, you go, oh, this is pretty cardboard. But you meet the people and they're awesome.
Yep. And then the people sort of make the question to us of, well, why does content on a website look the way it does? Because we aren't brave enough to be ourselves in a form that we think is going to be around forever. And we have to remind people constantly, hey, do the best job you can on content for now. Update it later. But make it reflect you, because otherwise it reflects something that isn't you.
Yes. And I'm just going to bring up, there was a woman I was doing some mentoring with, and she wanted to get cracking before I was back from the Variety Bash. I'm just going to look up her details right now, because I actually sent her a series of questions that I would normally draw from if I was working with her face-to-face, to get from her thinking some deeper insights into her business. And here they are. David, you might want to chip in on some of these and see what you think. Because I find for us to get a tool like ChatGPT or Claude to capture the essence of how we speak and write and want to, we need to give it a fair amount of data. And I think that equates typically to a 20 to 30 minute conversation or scads of pages of content you have written that you are fairly comfortable with. So I sent her this list of questions. See what you think of these. So the first group, there are a couple about vision and dreams. What does success look like to you? Not just financially, but personally and emotionally as a business owner.
I like it because if you ask so many people what does success mean to you, they're going to talk about the very practical things of, money or what they do with money. Whereas getting them to no, what would it mean to achieve the things you want to achieve? Changing that emphasis to how are you emotionally invested in what you do, and what would emotional satisfaction feel like? Get so much more out of people that is going to connect with other people, because when people spend money buying a product or a service from you, they very often want to know what makes this person different to this anonymous company that have a slightly better price.
Yeah, it's this thing that builds a connection between us and you. The second one in that group was, imagine it's 5 years from now and you've achieved your wildest business dreams. Describe to me what your business looks like and how it's impacting people's lives.
Just really nice again, because it goes from the practical to what does it mean. Again, they're very much Viktor Frankl questions.
Well, they are really. I think, is it Charles Squibb?
Simon Squibb.
Simon Squibb. I think there's a bit of Simon Squibb that's in the mix here as well. We talked about him in a previous episode. I can't remember what his book was called. It was. It might come to us as we go through. Do you know off the top of your head?
I struggle to remember Squibb stuff because he is Mr. Have a Dream and hit the accelerator. And really, I like that at one level. But after that, I didn't find the rest of the book any more convincing than saying, have a dream and hit the accelerator for 100th time.
Yeah, the book's called What's Your Dream? Yeah, you're right. It was worth reading, but it's not an empty calorie. It's not a full calorie. It was somewhere in between.
Yeah, it would have made a great 10-page pamphlet.
Seasoning. It's seasoning on our journey. The next cluster I had under the subheading of passion and values, we had, why does your business exist beyond just making money? What deeper purpose or change are you trying to bring into the world? And I'll give you the other two of this cluster, and then I'll get you to comment, David. What gets you out of bed every morning, even when things feel tough or uncertain? And can you recall a specific moment or experience that reinforced why you started this business?
They're great questions, and I would suggest to anyone out there who is looking to start a business, doesn't have one yet, try answering these questions about the thing you want to start.
Even hypothetically.
Yeah, even hypothetically. Like if you can't imagine getting up at 5 a.m. to go and do this thing you're dreaming of, it's not just, I'll achieve this in 5 years' time, it'll be amazing. No. You have to be willing to get up on day 100 and day 200 and day 400. What's going to get you up on those days? So in some ways, this reminds me of, I think his name is Robert DeMartini, the author who talks about the fact if you can work out what your core values are, then you can work out what you should do with your life. Because if you align with your core values, you'll find whatever you do to feel rewarding and feel relatively easy compared to something that doesn't align with your values.
The next cluster, I had a couple under origin story and motivation. So the number 6 was, what was the turning point that pushed you from thinking about your business idea to taking real action? And tell me about a key challenge you faced that shaped your business philosophy or the way you serve your customers today.
What I like about both of those questions, it takes it beyond dreaming about it to tangible moments where you pivoted or took action. Because one of the big things that's critical is getting the momentum up to start a small business is a big enough thing on its own. But the people who succeed are the ones who come up with a reason to rejuvenate that momentum every day, every week, every month, every year. Like, there's times where you deal with people in small business and they've got their small business. It's like they've bought the perfect pocket watch. It's beautiful. But they're not winding it up every day. So it's a beautiful object, but is it doing its job? Is it ticking? Is it helping them keep track of time so that they use their time wisely? So really, these questions, if they can help you realize it's all well and good to be able to see it in your head, but how are you going to do it? What's the inflection point? What's going to make you risk something to achieve something?
And the reason why I believe questions like these help us get your language and style guide right is they take us away from talking about, well, we sell 750 horsepower motors and they have this bearing or that bearing or this. It takes you into a different realm where I feel we can tap into the human who's behind the machine, if you like. Audiences and connection, a couple I put in here was who exactly do you dream about serving? And why does this particular audience matter so much to you? And what emotional experience or transformation do you hope your customers feel after engaging with your business?
And that really reminds me of some of the initial literature that HubSpot created in the early 2000s when they were first growing the idea of inbound, where they started talking very early about the idea of build a community even before you have a product. Because having a product without a community is terrifying. Having a community who are already listening to you as someone who's helping them to understand something, helping them to move forward, who are looking for trusted products or services. If you've got a community, when you offer them a product, the chance of them saying yes is much higher. So realistically, this thing of having the breakthrough, the perfect widget, in the modern economic situation, you're better off with the community first and the product second.
Yeah, and they're not alone in talking about that. There is
they just, I think, the originator, it's certainly in the 21st century. I'm sure it's been talked about before by somebody.
Yeah, and you might have guessed already as we're doing that. That is honing in on our target market, which is the bread and butter of marketing. Specific offerings and differentiation. I had a couple here. In simple human terms, how would you describe what you do to someone completely unfamiliar with your business? And what sets you apart from competitors? What can your customers get from you that they can't easily find anywhere else?
Again, really good questions, but very often there's a risk with those two questions that people descend into features and benefits because they love the product they designed, rather than talking about how it will solve someone's problem better than another product. Now, the features and benefits might be what solves the problem, but that's the context in which people are interested. How are your features and benefits going to affect them?
And I think, I find that the features and benefits definitely play a role. Because that's the real stuff that we can stick into some Velcro, I guess, along the way. And the reason I didn't start with these and waited till we warmed up the engine was I think once we've got that prior context, they have a role to play. And if we'd only done these, I think you're dead right. We would be trapped in that pretty meat and potato.
Your conventional sales space of, look at the features and benefits. Yeah, but you haven't understood me and my problem yet.
Yeah. Another couple of questions I added were, when you look at your industry, what frustrates you most about how your competitors do business or serve customers? And what opportunities or customer needs do you believe others in your industry are currently overlooking or neglecting?
I really like those questions, and I probably, having gone through them in this order today with you, would probably often put those two before the last two to reframe how people are thinking.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
To get their brain in that spot of seeing it from the how are they helping perspective. What are they improving?
Yep, good point. The last three I finished off, I will change that order actually, because this is a nice little set of questions to you. It's looking to the future. So how do you want people to talk about your business or remember your business after interacting with you or your product and services? If your business could solve one big problem in your community or industry, what would you want that problem to be and why? And what is the problem or goal potential course participants are experiencing that you will help with? What's the problem or the goal potential course participants, this was for a woman who was doing courses, are experiencing you want to help with?
I think they're three great final questions because someone's going to be in such a good state to answer these final three deep questions after all the other questions. But I also have a feeling that sometimes people are going to answer those last three and now realize they understand their business better and they'll want to go back and answer the earlier questions again, which is fine. And maybe that's something you should put as a final comment. If you feel that your answers to these final three are the best understanding you've ever had of what you do, take another 15 minutes. Don't copy over your earlier answers. Just write down a second set and see how much your insight into what you do has changed by going through this process.
And this is one of the first times I've actually sent the questions with someone to record on their own. I think it's the second time. And that was because of a unique situation. I find that if you're going to do anything like that, have some other person ask you the questions. It's just a bit too hard to be juggling interviewer and interviewee in the head.
Yeah, we have too much pressure on ourselves if we're sitting at a keyboard or with a pen or pencil thinking we've got to write it down cohesively, whereas if it's talking to a person and we can stream of consciousness it a bit, we're more likely to start making noise and end up producing some pretty good meaning.
Yeah, and the other thing I was going to say is, look, that is where there is some value of having someone who's been around the block a lot, like we have, being able to ask these questions, because you're going to say something that is going to prompt the extra questions along the way. But even if you're not working with us and doing that, being able to have someone ask these questions, record it, get that transcript, and then you go to your favourite tool and you say, can you please review this transcript? And can you develop a comprehensive language and style guide that would enable you to recreate writing using the same or similar tones and value statements and structure in the way that we do? Then once you've got that and you're happy with it, again, don't just accept what it spews out, because it will sometimes go off half-baked. Get it right so it becomes an accurate mirror of how you want to write and talk about your business. And then any future chat you're doing, upload this into the chat and say, look, here's the language and style guide. As you do this next task, please follow those guidelines.
Our 4 Ps. Number 3, problems. I asked the question for the best reason possible. Simple curiosity. Oscar Wilde.
David, you're about to get an award in my magazine as the top marketing podcast host in Australia. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It will cost you $1,500 just so we can put the articles together, etc., maintain your exclusivity of that title. Deal?
How many people are going to read this?
Exactly. So in the problem segment, your inbox too might be filled with these. Mine certainly is. One I got yesterday to Baristador Coffee, which is my little coffee hobby business, which I've sort of wound down now because I'm too busy with my own clients. I got this from Charlotte Green from the Food Business Review. Hi, Steve. I'm Charlotte from Food Business Review APAC, a well-regarded magazine reaching, here's your answer, David, 74,000 qualified subscribers across the Australian Pacific region.
What's a qualified subscriber?
Yeah, good question. Our magazine shares news, insights and expert opinions from top executives and prominent companies in the food sector. This helps businesses stay updated on every aspect of the food sector, from the latest updates and advancements to the best practices in food business. Okay? So far, so good. I'm excited to share some great news. Baristador Coffee is shortlisted based on nominations from our subscribers as the top espresso coffee bean service in the Australian Pacific for 2025 in our upcoming edition, who reported that they would suggest your services to their peers. And this prestigious recognition highlights your exceptional reputation among your customers. How amazing, David.
I think Charlotte is a little bit artificial.
Really?
Really.
Given that the business has been wound down and I know all the customers.
I, for some reason, keep thinking about what it's like to eat a chocolate crackle. You hear the word chocolate and you think crackle, you think, that's going to be great. And then you get the terrible taste of Kofa and wonder why you're bothered.
Oh, no, I love Kofa. I love it. Oh, okay, we finally have difference.
Yes, and that's okay because you can have all the chocolate crackles.
Good, I want them. Now, notably, this is the email I got. I'm reading it in full because we need to be aware of all these things. Notably, you will be the sole recipient to receive the top espresso coffee bean service recognition in the edition. As they say, edition, only one. Now, as part of this, we want to highlight what makes you stand out among others in this sector by featuring an engaging profile. Alongside your differentiating factors, the article will delve into your services and showcase their impact through real-world examples. The overarching goal is to create an engaging and compelling narrative that conveys your importance to prospects. Additionally, we'll provide you with reprint rights for this feature. Our clients were thrilled to notice a surge in their visibility after receiving similar junk recognition. Oh, no, sorry, that was my word there. From our magazine as a prominent company. Furthermore, being highlighted in our print and digital magazine helped them receive quality inquiries from subscribers and website visitors. Similarly, you can increase your prominence and visibility with the help of this Top Espresso Coffee Bean Service Award. This endorsement from a renowned magazine builds credibility, David. Remember this? Credibility. Making prospects confident in your service. Here's the catch. In addition to the reprint rights, you'll receive a certificate, a logo, and other benefits, all for $3,000. Furthermore, the profile will be hyperlinked to its website where all your potential clients can reach you directly. Steve, I would like to connect and discuss how you can leverage this to increase its visibility, just as our clients have done. Let me know the best time to reach you.
In the year 4322.
How dare they make claims about building credibility when the whole thing is absolute bullshit?
If they just put that much work into doing something constructive, they'd probably succeed.
It makes you wonder, all these stories that, your Glam Adelaide, your In Daily, your advertiser have, Adelaide's been named in the top 10 XYZ. How much money has changed hands
to make that so?
These pathetic, transitory, unheard of previously award recognitions to become headlines? It's just PR, BS, headline mill rubbish. I said it. But it's a good idea, David. Maybe we should run something like this.
Maybe we should run our own award system where we're the only judges.
We should email all our listeners saying you would be the sole, what would we call it? The top, we can't just call it the top listener to talking about marketing. It's got to have something that gives the guise of external validation.
The Talked About Marketing Australasian Small Business Award.
Let's do it. And we can probably beat 3,000 US.
We better do it in Australian dollars or it might look a bit dodgy.
We'll do 3,000 Australian dollars.
Sounds good.
That is a probably, 40% discount on this crappy award. Our crappy award is better value.
Our 4 Ps. Number 4. Perspicacity. The one duty we owe to history is to rewrite it. Oscar Wilde.
David, do you mind if I ask you a personal question?
Nah, I can always run away.
Okay. Have you ever walked along a city street, let your hand go down to your crotch and fiddle around a bit and discover your fly's undone?
Not that I can remember. I can remember going to try suits on and being about to walk out from the change room to find out, whether the suit looked good on me from sighted people and going, it feels a bit drafty, and just in time realising I should do the zip up. So that was just pre-mega embarrassment.
Yes, so you nipped it in the bud.
But I did, and thankfully nothing got caught in the zip, so everything was fine.
Okay, that's very good. Well, there's a wonderful Yellow Pages ad from, I'll date it in a moment as we're listening to it, of someone, a bloke, encountering a broken zipper on a city street. Let's have a listen. It's a very visual ad, but in essence, you've got a bloke in the street who realises his fly is undone, and he's trying to fix it and trying to find a place, and he sort of shuffles across the side of the city street to where there's a big building with a glass window. He can't really see it, and he's using that as a mirror to sort of do up his fly. Meanwhile, we cut inside, and there's all the office people going, oh, they've got a bloke right up against their window looking like he's massaging his crotch. And so in the perspicacity segment, our question is always, look, this may or may not have worked. I think it would have been fun in the 90s. Would this ad work today? How universal is this? Can we cope with this? Does this fall on the taboo side of woke sensitivities, or is it universally a human thing that we could get away with?
I would hope that it would still be seen as funny and still be something that people would go, oh gosh, embarrassing but funny, and it would be okay because he's not doing deliberate harm to self or others. Yeah, it's a dumb thing to walk over and use a big window into a building as a mirror, but in that moment you're probably not thinking very clearly. I would hope that it's very much a human thing and maybe it can stand up as an ad that would still get a laugh.
Yeah, that's my intuition as well, because it's tapping into a universal human truth. These things still happened.
Yeah.
In fact, I have a sneaking suspicion I did this yesterday, accidentally. There you go. There's a confession for you is that oversharing?
No, I think it's good because that way when we get emails wondering what the heck you were doing walking down Harley Street with your trousers undone, we now have some data.
Jan? I'm not happy, Jan!
Thank you for listening to Talking About Marketing. If you enjoyed it, please leave a rating or a review in your favourite podcast app. And if you found it helpful, please share it with others. Steve and David always welcome your comments and questions, so send them to podcast@talkedaboutmarketing.com. And finally, the last word to Oscar Wilde. There's only one thing worse than being talked about, and that's not being talked about.